Good evening. My name is Charles Parasino, and I will be moderating tonight's telephone town hall with Congressman John Larson. Thank you for joining our interactive Access Live event. This evening, Representative John Larson will be taking your questions during his final telephone town hall of the year and discussing the latest from Washington, D.C., including Republican cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and the Affordable Care Act, the impact of President Trump's tariffs, and the recently introduced American Affordability Act. As I mentioned, this is an interactive forum, and we would love to hear from you. We will be taking as many questions from participants as we possibly can live on this event tonight. If you have a question, you can press *3 on your phone keypad at any time, and you will be placed in line to speak. The next time you hear your name, you will be live on the call, and you will be able to ask your question directly. If you are joining us online, you can submit your question in the form below the live stream video. Congressman Larson will do his best to answer as many questions as we possibly can this evening. If the Congressman is not able to address your question, please call our office at 860-278-8888 and leave a message along with your phone number or email address. Staff will listen to your voicemail and get back to you with an answer to your question. Again, if you have any questions throughout the event, please press *3 on your keypad. And to sign up for Congressman's newsletter to receive updates and information about future events like the one we are holding tonight, press *6 on your keypad. Now I will turn it over to Congressman Larson.
Well, thank you, Charles, and thank everyone for joining us this wintry evening. First and foremost, I hope everyone had a joyous holiday season with Hanukkah and Christmas, and of course, we'll all be welcoming in the new year this week. I want to thank you as well for joining us on our final telephone town hall of the year. I'm proud that our office has held over 40 events. I actually prefer meeting people in person, but the numbers, we had a town hall where we had 18 people, and we already have hundreds of people on this phone call already, and we've been averaging well over 1,000 per call. So we're pleased that we're able to get information out to people that is relevant, especially given the times we're living in and a number of issues. Before we get into it, I can't help but, and I'm sure all of you will agree, that our hearts go out to the Kennedy family and Caroline Kennedy for the loss of her daughter, and a family that has done so much for this country has also seen such incredible suffering. Our hearts go out to them, and as well, I think all of us, when we look out across the world today and see everything that's going on, and I mentioned Hanukkah, and here we saw as our Jewish community celebrating Hanukkah this year, the extreme anti-Semitic incidents that are happening all around the globe. Our hearts go out to the victims of the horrific attack in Australia, where 15 people, including a child, were gunned down during a Hanukkah celebration. And right here at home, Congregation Beth Israel in West Hartford received a bomb threat during Hanukkah. Again, I want to single out and compliment the West Hartford police and Mayor Sherry Cantor for their quick and swift action. But these aren't just attacks on Jewish families. They're attacks on all of our shared values. And I know all of you on this line feel the same way that I do, that anti-Semitism has no place in our state, our nation, in our world. And we all have to work together to confront this hate. As a lot has transpired since we last communicated, and I know questions abound about what this administration is doing, and I mentioned Kennedy, but I can't tell you how upset I was with Trump again asserting what the great editor of an editorial writer for the Times has labeled a narcissistic nihilist is how he describes Donald Trump, and placing his name on the Kennedy Center. I'm proud that so many people now are boycotting that and demonstrating that this will not stand. This egocentric, monomaniacal individual who's the president of the United States leaves so much to be desired, and not the least of which was also doing something, and many have written our office about shutting down Revolution Wind that's just off the coast of London, which was set to power 350,000 homes in Connecticut and Rhode Island and save New England ratepayers more than $500 million a year. I'm grateful that we have such a great Attorney General who has probably been one of the most busy Attorney Generals in the country. But William Tong continues to fight, including taking on the president on this basic order in court, and we're prepared to do everything we can to again block this ridiculous move. But whether it's health care, whether it's grocery bills or utility costs, prices are rising. People are feeling the pain. The cost of living issues are what remain at the heart of everything that the American people are going through, and all the more reason why we have to continue to stand up to Trump. I was grateful that before we adjourned, and on December the 17th, all Democrats, and with the help of 4 Republicans, were able to get a discharge petition. Now, a lot of these languages, whether it's a discharge petition or whether it's a resolution of inquiry, these are terms that I'm sure might have some people baffled, but they are tools that the minority has to actually get a vote. Of course, they still require brave Republicans, and I commend those 4 Republicans to join us now. Speaker Johnson should have taken up that vote immediately so people would not have seen a rise in their costs for the month of January, but instead, because our rules allowed him to take it up on January the 7th, he took the long route with no other reason to than it's going to impact people and their health care costs. But it was at least something to celebrate that 4 Republicans showed the nerve and the courage to stand up to Donald Trump. Now, how many of you out there would have ever thought that Marjorie Taylor Greene would be one of the people you'd be talking about who had the gumption to stand up to Donald Trump, and as you may know, is now leaving Congress, etc. But I don't have much in common with her, but I do have to tip my hat and nod that she had the courage not only to stand up, but speak out and vote against his intentions. And so that's the situation that we find us in. And that was a very critical vote, and it shows you that when representatives understand how their districts are impacted, that 4 brave Republicans, and we're only 4 seats away from taking back the majority, and 4 of them joined us knowing that we would have the required 218 votes to pass the bill. And that came out of a discharge petition. And they took a lot of heat from it and are still under a great deal of pressure. So give them a great deal of credit. Let's hope they remain firm. And I believe if they remain firm and the vote takes place on the 7th, that I think other Republicans will join them and start to show the courage that's needed. We're a co-equal branch of government, but certainly the legislative branch, dominated in the House by Republicans and in the Senate by Republicans, and as you know, the president is a Republican. They've been able to do pretty much whatever they want. So this is a break that is going to be closely watched and viewed. And I couldn't be prouder of the efforts of our leadership and Hakeem Jeffries in making sure that we stuck together and stayed the course. Don't get me wrong. There's much more that has to be done with respect to health care and with respect to making sure that people are able to maintain their health care provisions and that they're affordable. But this was a big first step because it would have taken effect immediately. There were other provisions in their so-called big, beautiful bill that wouldn't take effect to later on. And yet still, 112,000 Connecticut residents would have been stuck with higher premiums, including 19,000 people in the 1st District here in the state of Connecticut. I recently heard from a constituent in Middletown who received a notice that his premiums are going to double. And he wrote me back that he will have to pay more for his health insurance than he pays for his mortgage. That's simply unacceptable. In the wealthiest country in the world, no one should have to choose between the care they need and paying the rent or owning a home. Democrats have offered a plan to extend these tax credits and stop this double-digit premium hike. Wednesday, December the 17th, that's when the 4 Republicans joined us. I wish Speaker Johnson had taken the bill up immediately as he could have, as he's done before, but instead he chose to put it off at Trump's request until we get back on January the 6th. The vote has to, under law, take place by January the 7th. So, again, I want to commend our leader, Mr. Jeffries, who has done such a great job of standing up to Trump. In my opinion, and this was Jeffries as well, we should have not gone home for the Christmas holidays. We should have stayed in Washington until we made sure that people wouldn't have to face, 20 million of our fellow Americans wouldn't have to face a rise in their prices or doubling in many instances of their health care. And we were able to do that through something that's called a discharge petition, which is a tool that the majority has. But it took 4 Republicans to join us. And so I know it can be discouraging listening to the news these days, but take heart in this and take heart at how important that vote will be in January, not simply for restoring health insurance, but also showing that the democracy in the system that we participate in still can work when people show the courage and the willingness to stand up to Donald Trump. We also have another tool that you may have heard of called the resolution of inquiry that I brought against Elon Musk when he refused to come before our committee and speak as though he's above the law. And yet the Republicans had him not show up, filibustered the bill, never allowed it to come forward, and then changed the rules of the House so that the resolution of inquiry can no longer be used. I assure you, when Democrats take back the House, we are going to restore that because it is an important tool for whoever the minority party is, whether it be Democrat or Republican. It's something that is a useful tool that still requires signatures and effort to put forward. But that's how a democracy is supposed to work as well. At the last hearing that we had, we did so because we wanted to, Trump was claiming how well and profitable and good tariffs were, and there were several articles that were written, but one on U.S. tariff collection of tariffs, and what they did was compare Christmas and Christmas toys and stuff that I think are very understandable, and what the tariff was in 2024 and what it was in 2025. So in 2024, before Trump was president and imposed tariffs, toys and dolls had 0 tariffs. Video games and consoles had 0 tariffs. Christmas ornaments had 7, but in 2025 they had 446 million. Video games had 448 million. Toys and dolls had 1,509,000. That's the increase that they received. Nativity scenes you paid nothing for in 2024, 8 million in 2025. Other Christmas decorations, nothing in 2024, 66 million in 2025. And why? What are these for? So that we can give billionaires tax cuts? Billionaires who are already doing extraordinarily well did even better. You talk about the Grinch who stole Christmas. That was Trump's way with his tariffs of trying to convince the American people that this is a good and a constructive thing that was being attempted. I did also, at our last public forum, talk about the American Affordability Act. Now, this is a bill introduced on the committee I serve on, the Ways and Means Committee, by our leader, Rich Neal, Mike Thompson, and myself. Here's what the bill does to show you what we're up against. The bill was a comprehensive roadmap to expand access for what Americans are concerned about most: affordable housing, lower home energy bills, tax cuts for workers and families, making child care and higher education both more attainable and affordable. Now, these are the very kitchen table issues that Americans are talking about and what keeps people up at night. Now, the American Affordability Act included 2 of my bills as well to build more affordable housing, and including the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act, which would spur development of 500,000 new homes over the next decade by creating tax credits to bridge the gap between the cost of building and repairing a home and the home's value once it's met. And the Revitalizing Downtowns and Main Street Act, which will help convert vacant office spaces in cities like Hartford into housing units with new tax incentives and affordable places for people to live and work and help prosper the very cities that we live in. As families struggle to make ends meet, we can't afford to waste our time on vanity projects like the new ballroom he's discussing, bailouts of Argentina, and, as we said at the outset, placing Donald Trump's name on the Kennedy Center. We have to stay focused on costs in the new year. I now want to turn this over to your questions because we want to have, we've got to 7 o'clock and we want to get to as many questions as we can. And as Charles said, for those of you that have questions and aren't able to get through, please send them to our offices and we'll get you your answers in writing so that you have that. We have some good time this evening, but if you ever need assistance with any federal agency, from passports to applications or refunds or Medicare benefits or any issue with Social Security, please call my office at 860-278-8888. I'm wishing everybody a good and grand new year. I assure you we will be back taking on Donald Trump, starting with getting those provisions passed so that 20 million people don't see their health insurance costs rise, and then continue to take on Donald Trump on the cost of living issues that I enumerated in my opening remarks, as well as, and I'm sure you all know about my adamant support and call for us to not only just protect Social Security, but to enhance it so that people, including the 10,000 baby boomers a day who become eligible for Social Security, get the benefits that they have earned and richly deserve. With that, let me turn it over to Charles and throw it open to questions.
Thank you, Congressman. As a reminder to everyone on the line, and we do have more than 3,900 folks on the line right now, if you have a question for the Congressman, please press *3 on your keypad to enter the queue. And to sign up for our newsletter, you can press *6 on the keypad. We'll start with an online question that Suda from West Hartford submitted tonight, and she asks, what can be done to rein in the abuses of power that we've seen from ICE, who have even targeted U.S. citizens?
Well, thank you, Suda, for that question. We get several of these, and so I think it's a very poignant question. As many of you have seen, Donald Trump is sending his masked ICE agents into our communities to create, in my opinion, a sense of fear more than an effort to improve the safety and well-being of our citizens. We all watched in horror when mothers were snatched from their children's arms with men in black masks in Newington this summer. We also saw it in car washes in Southington and Hamden. That's not the America that you or I know, or the America we love. We are a nation of immigrants, and more, as importantly, a nation of laws that follows the Constitution. Trump regards the Constitution as a suggestion, not the law of the land. I'm proud to champion the No Secret Police Act in Congress to require federal law enforcement to identify themselves and bar them from wearing masks. I'm also supporting Protecting Sensitive Locations Act to prohibit ICE from raids in schools, in hospitals, courthouses, and churches. I won't stop speaking out against these grotesque abuses of powers, even if it puts me on Donald Trump's Department of Homeland Security's watch list, as Hakeem Jeffries and Jasmine Crockett and I held a press conference after that, saying we wear it as a badge of honor that we're placed on Trump's hit list as Democrats he wants to see out of Congress. And we'll continue to speaking out against him. And speaking out works. Right before Christmas, the Supreme Court blocked his National Guard deployments into our cities like Chicago. You can always count on me and members of Congress on both sides who know what's right to stand up and stand up for you, as the four Republicans are going to do when we come back. We all, including you at home, must keep speaking up for the country we love. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next question comes from Pia, who asks, do you have any innovative ideas on how to make Congress more effective?
Well, I certainly do, Pia, and thank you for that question. But I know how frustrating it must be for people at home to watch Congress this year. I mean, it's shameful what Speaker Johnson has done. He's not the Speaker of the House. He's Trump's Speaker. He operates more like a staff member of the president than the leader of a co-equal branch of government. After they passed Trump's big, beautiful bill, as they call it, imagine Congress was only in session for 19 days between July and November, even through the government shutdown. The Speaker kept his members out of Washington at Donald Trump's orders to keep Republicans from negotiating with Democrats to reopen government, and his attempt to try to block the release of the Epstein files. As you all know now, it failed. And we are ending the year with the lowest number of laws passed since 1989. And while at the same time, President Trump has issued a record-setting 225 executive orders. The House and Senate are co-equal branches of government, but the failure of the Republican leadership in the House and Senate to stand up to a president, especially when they know he's wrong, and to have 225 executive orders is no way to govern. I have introduced, I think it's kind of ironic, but I've introduced the MAGA Act during the shutdown. It's called MAGA because it means Make America Govern Again. By making sure that federal workers and our troops are paid during the shutdown, while members of Congress and political appointees in the executive branch should go without. I think that will get everybody's attention. Instead of it being the very workers and the troops, the federal workers and our military that went without pay, that it should be members of Congress and members of the executive branch, including political appointees and also the various agencies that they're appointed to. That's who should bear the burden when there's a failure to govern. We also introduced the opening the People's House resolution to change House rules so a majority of members can vote to bring Congress back into session. Now again, it would require a majority, but it makes simple and common sense. The Speaker should not have the sole authority himself in what is supposed to be the People's House to prevent the government from meeting and negotiating what's happening in the country. To only have been in Congress for 19 days is an atrocity. I would also add that I think one of the best things that we can do, and both Rosa DeLauro and I have a bill, I think that before anybody graduates high school, they ought to be able to pass the same test that we give to immigrants to become citizens of this country, so that every American citizen, every school child in America, public or private, would have to pass a test before they can graduate high school that demonstrates their knowledge and the importance of citizenship in the United States of America and what it means to protect this great democracy we all share.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next question comes from a live caller, Bruce, who's joining us from Granby, who has a question about your Republican colleagues. Bruce should be live with the Congressman. It looks like he may not be on the call anymore. Okay. We will go to our next online question from Leanne, who joins us from Middletown, and she asks, since Pete Hegseth oversaw an illegal strike targeting boats in the Caribbean, what can be done to prevent the Trump administration from starting a war with Venezuela?
Well, thank you, Leanne, and as someone who came of age during the Vietnam War, I think we understand just how important war powers are and whose responsibility it is to declare war. And what Hegseth has done and been called out by military leaders, former military leaders, and others is a travesty. As members of Congress, we all have the responsibility to remember that the founders entrusted us with the authority to declare war. Not Pete Hegseth or Donald Trump or any president. These unauthorized strikes in the Caribbean Sea have proven that it's time for the legislative branch to reassert our war powers authorities before this escalates into a larger conflict in the region, which is at the heart of your question. Congress recently voted to repeal the Iraq War Resolution that I voted against in 2002. And we also held votes to prohibit these strikes in the Caribbean Sea on any unauthorized strikes in Venezuela. And this year's National Defense Authorization Act, Congress passed a provision withholding funding for Secretary Hegseth's office until he turns over the records we are demanding about these strikes. There has got to be accountability in government. The public demands it. The Republicans in Congress have got to find the backbone to stand up for what is their constitutional responsibility as an equal branch of government. I believe that there are good Republicans who know and understand this and will join with us to hold this administration accountable. I can appreciate the frustration of people who understand that as well, and doubt whether that will be the case because they've seen how they've caved in and how Trump continues to act, and the Hegseth's performance, as many have called, he should be certainly stepped down or be removed from his responsibility. And so, Leanne, thank you for that question. And let's take the next question, Charles.
Our next question comes from John, who joins us from Manchester, and he has a question about the filibuster. John, you are
yes,
now with the Congress.
Hi, Congressman. Thank you very much for taking my call. Congressman,
You're welcome.
I've thought long about this, and you're kind of like damned if you do and damned if you don't. So I know why you might disagree with me, and I respect that. But you know, I'm thinking about maybe it's time to get rid of the filibuster, where you need 60 votes from the Senate to pass anything, because the Republicans are in charge and the Democrats are in charge, and you have to protect the rights of the minority because you're always going to be in the minority from time to time. But the only thing is that nothing is getting done. So I'm just saying that being that we aren't getting anything done, let's get rid of the filibuster. Let's take a chance. Let's go on a limb and take a chance, and let's see if we can get something done. I know the ramifications for that can be very, very troublesome, but I just wanted to say maybe it's time to try something different. And I thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you. I think, you asked probably one of the most intelligent questions for people who watch and observe government on a regular basis. The filibuster, first and foremost, and everybody should know this, is unconstitutional.
Wow.
Also, the filibuster, this is not like, and probably many of you have seen the old television, the old movie, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, where Jimmy Stewart gets up and filibusters on the floor. But in the old rules of the Senate, he had to filibuster on the floor. You had to stand there for that period of time, and you couldn't get a break, couldn't be there, etc. Now, in the Senate, any member can be sitting in their office and call in and say that they want a filibuster. To be brutally honest about this, both Democrats and Republicans have used this in the past. And you notice you don't see a lot of filibuster in the House of Representatives. You see this in the United States Senate, where their rules permit it. Kudos to both Senator Blumenthal and Senator Murphy, who have always opposed this. They're not opposed to people standing up and having free speech, but yes, they ought to be able to stand there and filibuster. They shouldn't be able just to call in from their offices and require 60 votes in order to pass a bill. They do this, when I say they, the Senate as an institution, to block the House's bills from being taken up. And I think research will bear out that Congress over the last decade hasn't taken up major legislation unless it's in a continuing resolution or an omnibus bill, as opposed to the committees meeting and going back and forth, and then House and Senate gathering together to pass a bill. So, John, your question on the filibuster, number one, it's unconstitutional. Number two, the Senate rules should be done away with. I think the Senate could provide an opportunity to filibuster as it was done in old, where freedom of speech and your ability to stand on the floor and stay there as yourself and talk on a bill out of principle and what you believe is right is far different than being able to use a rule to block legislation, to prevent discussion in a democracy such as ours. So kudos for that question. It's something, again, I want to commend both Senator Murphy and Senator Blumenthal, who have stood up against this and stood up in favor of eliminating that rule that prevents the legislation from being taken up.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next question comes from Dennis, who joins us from Torrington, and he has a question about the big, beautiful bill. Dennis, you are now live with the Congressman.
Yes. I had stage 4 cancer 2 years ago, And through radiation and chemotherapy, I tried to beat it. It was unsuccessful, and I had surgery last November 6th. I have cancer again, and it's in my lymph nodes. So surgery isn't an option, but I was covered under Medicaid, which was a very good plan for me. I'm wondering what's my future looking like as I am currently in the middle of chemotherapy, and I am surviving on Medicaid. And I am also living on $600 a month in Social Security disability. And $600 a month does not go as far as most people might think it does. And so I'm wondering, what does my future look like as far as health care insurance?
Well, first and foremost, Dennis, thank you for sharing your story with us. And thank you for your unbelievable courage and will. Dennis, nobody in America, the wealthiest nation in the world, should be in the position that you're in and have to worry about this. As you pointed out, you are on Medicaid and Medicare, and it was taking care of you. But you've seen what can happen if these were repealed or taken out as they were in the big, beautiful bill. That fight is going to be waged not only when we get back, but continued to be fought for, as well as you pointed out, the expansion of Social Security that hasn't been expanded or extended in more than 50 years. Do you think prices were a little bit different in 1971 when Richard Nixon was president of the United States, the last time that Social Security was enhanced? Of course they have. And listen, Medicare and Medicaid are essential, not only for the very democracy and the health of our people, but I say this all the time, but mostly about Social Security, that it is the best economic development plan we could ever have. And people go, what do you mean? An economic development plan? And I say, yeah, let me tell you why. For 40% of the American people, 40%, the only benefit that they have in retirement is Social Security. All of you on this line are probably aware of what your Social Security check will be. It was always meant to augment and be there for people who had their own pension or their own IRA or their own company facilitated plan. That's not the case today. And so we both, A, need to strengthen Social Security. Where do these people spend that money? Why do I say it's such a great economic development plan? Because it creates the circular flow of goods and services, especially in an inflationary period like we're in today, that allows the money to go directly back into all 435 congressional districts and their local economies. Because people take that Social Security check and they spend it on groceries. They spend it on heating and cooling their home. They spend it on renting or paying their mortgage. They spend it on gas in their automobiles. And the groceries and the pharmacies that they go to are local. And that's what helps take the money they receive and recirculate it right back into the very economy, and especially those small businesses that they're going to need. Dennis, let me assure you that the entire Connecticut delegation will continue to fight on your behalf so that you or anyone that is enduring what you're going through shouldn't also have these added fears. You should have the insurance that your representatives and your government is there fighting for you so that you can deal with this dreaded disease, but also know that people are there for you and to help and to assist. God bless you, Dennis, and thank you for sharing your story.
Our next question is an online submission from Jobina, who joins us from Rocky Hill, and she asks, how are new limits put in place on federal student loans going to impact borrowers?
Well, thank you again for that question. I think first and foremost, I think everybody is aware of the unbelievable cost of education today and what young people have been burdened with mountains of debt, told and pushed and prodded all their lives to get an education, to go to college, coming up with the money and working and doing everything they can to get a degree, them finding themselves in a situation where they're not only struggling to find a job, but are already burdened with mountains of debt. That's wrong. Everybody knows it's wrong, and we've got to come to grips with that. I have a proposal that says that, listen, and nothing comes without work, and nothing should be free, but I have a proposal and a bill that says, listen, for every year that you work in public service, that you, for every year of work of public service, you get 2 years of in-state college tuition payment or loan deferral. The news coming from the Trump administration clearly has been troubling for student loan borrowers and families trying to figure out, now, how am I going to send my child to college? I've heard from so many people about the limits they put on nursing programs. My sister's a nurse, and the work, and then how Trump has equated nurses as not being professionals. Are you kidding me? These are people that have, not only are they professional, but deserve, as I think all of you would agree, our respect and gratitude for what they do. And they're more often the people actually in the room providing the care. And they're the ones that end up holding your hand and taking you and taking care of you. The administration's new policy, believe it or not, says that nursing degrees are not professional programs. Beyond the insult, this change will make it harder for students to afford to become a nurse. I've written the Department of Education with Joe Courtney and a group of my colleagues to demand they reverse this policy and make sure that students can still take out federal loans for all graduate programs. The American Affordability Act, which I mentioned before, also includes a number of provisions to help student loan borrowers. Our plan will double the student loan interest deduction for married couples, eliminating the so-called marriage penalty, expand eligibility for the American Opportunity Tax Credit to help students pay for their tuitions with up to $2,000 a year, and exclude Pell Grants from income for tax purposes, all of which will help people. And as I said at the top, I also have a bill we call Action for National Service, which says that for every year you serve your country through programs like AmeriCorps or other programs that I believe should be designed and expanded to include not only national programs like the Peace Corps, like AmeriCorps, but also at the state and local level as well, so that service to your country, whether it be at a local, whether it be at a state or federal level, will count towards helping you becoming a better citizen in that community, that state, and this nation. And in doing so, will allow you to afford to get an education or the skill level that's non-educational that you need in order to become a productive member of society and not have you burdened with bankruptcy before you even get started. So that's where those are the kinds of things that we want to do to continue to bring down college costs and not make it harder for students to pursue a higher education. And thank you for that question.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next question comes from Bruce, who I know we had tried to go to before, but is back on the line with a question about your Republican colleagues in Congress. Bruce, you should
Yes,
be
I'm here.
live with the Congressman now.
Thank you, Congressman Larson. My question is, how do we get through to Republican Congress members to let them know that they have more to fear from the voter in losing their job than they have to fear from Trump?
Well, Bruce, number one, thank you for the question, but that's why when they framed the Constitution and they put Congress together, they called for 2-year elections for members of the House. And elections matter. And it's when they hear from people like you, Bruce, and most people get frustrated with me when I'm at town halls and meetings and we say we're pushing back against Trump. They say, but it's not enough. We got to do more. And I say, well, we have an election coming up. They say, but that's not for another year. And I feel their frustration, as I can tell you have as well, because of the need to see people act. But your voice matters. These things that are happening across the country and the nation with people coming out and speaking out don't go unnoticed. In spite of attempts of people to say, well, it doesn't matter, it's just crowds that are gathering, it's just voices that don't mean much, that's false. Every march, every voice, every letter matters. All members of Congress keep track of the number of responses and letters they get. Now, whether they agree or disagree or whatever, the volume matters, as does the points that you're trying to make, and to make sure that Congress is understanding that. We started this by saying, hey, listen, on a bill on health care that was passed in July, that's effects weren't known until people started speaking out on it, ultimately got 4 Republicans to switch. They didn't switch because they heard John Larson speaking on the floor. They switched because they heard from their constituents. They heard from the people that were impacted by this. They saw the numbers. They realized what a devastating thing this would be on their health and on the communities. I want to commend the hospitals and doctors who have come out and spoken clearly. Jeff Flax at Harvard Hospital and the doctors there have been nothing short of outstanding and unafraid and undaunted about speaking out and standing up for doing the right thing because they know what this impact will be. There's something in the law called uncompensated care, which means no matter what, hospitals and doctors are going to take care of people. They will go to the emergency rooms, and it will be the most incredible, difficult thing, and all it will do is prevent inadequate care and drive prices up for everyone else and stress and strain the doctors and nurses and healthcare professionals and people in healthcare facilities and in emergency rooms all across the country. So that's why these fights and that's why elections are so important, and that's why it's so critical that citizens like yourselves and all of you that are on this program, that are on this telephone call tonight, the fact that you're on the call demonstrates your concern about the very democracy that you're a part of, an integral part of, and why it's so vitally important that when we get back down to Washington. A, we have listened to what you had to say, and B, work on your behalf to represent you. It's called the House of Representatives for a reason. It's called the People's House for a reason, because we have direct contact to the public and up for election every 2 years, and accountability in a democracy. The most disheartening thing for me, and I'm sure for all of you, was to learn in the last election, more people didn't vote than voted for both presidential candidates combined. That's the real danger, when people in a democracy give up, when they don't stay involved, when they don't stay committed, when they don't stay informed, when they don't hold their elected officials accountable. Thank you all for being on this call this evening. Appreciated the question.
Thank you, Congressman. And we've come to our final question of the evening from Cynthia, who submitted an online question in East Hartford. And she asks, what can we do to stop the president's effort to stamp Washington, D.C. as the quote-unquote city of Trump, like we saw with his attempt to rename the Kennedy Center?
Well, Cynthia, as you may have heard me say at the outset, I think David Brooks, the conservative New York Times columnist and op-ed writer, said it best. He's a narcissistic nihilist. Now, he also went on to describe what that means. I think people understand narcissism and what that means. Someone consumed with himself and all about himself. A nihilist is about a person who's all about the consumption of power and gaining and grabbing as much power as he possibly can, because that power is what fuels that narcissistic ego of Donald Trump. And it's because of that where he had the gall to just say and take and place his name over John F. Kennedy's name, as though he was somehow even remotely equivalent. Other than the fact that they were both presidents, there is nothing in common between the two. And as I said before, I'm proud of the people who are now boycotting the Kennedy Center because of this disdainful act by this man consumed with his own ego and desire to grab all the power that he can. My colleague Joyce Beatty of Ohio, the former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, serves on the Kennedy Center board, and she is leading the effort and seeking to remove this. She is suing to stop, and we will be joining and standing with her, this illegal name change. We're also writing the president to object ourselves, and we'll be joining many people, including April Delaney from Maryland, to introduce legislation blocking what is, I think, everyone around the country would regard as a ridiculous, egotistical, self-centered move on the part of the president. Listen, it's not enough just to complain about Trump. There's, God only knows, there's a lot we can complain about. But it's equally important that we also indicate to people what we stand for and what we will do differently. What I commit to the people on this call, and what Speaker of the House Jeffries, who will be visiting this district later this year in February or March, what we believe is that we have to demonstrate what we will do different, what we will accomplish in the first 100 days that the Democrats are in control of the United States. Not only standing up to Trump and taking him on and correcting the travesties that he's created, but also putting forward the legislation that will make sure, as a number of the callers had, that health care concerns are addressed and met. And if you're suffering with cancer and you're concerned that Medicare and Medicaid weren't there, that shouldn't be a concern of yours. It should be your government assuring you that we're making it stronger and better and doing the kind of research and development that will ultimately obliterate or end this dreaded disease as well. That's what America's all about. America's about us all pulling together and fighting for one another and taking the very monies that we have and investing them in a positive way that will both stimulate growth and opportunity and take care of all of our fellow citizens. There's a big difference between the two parties today, and I think it's becoming self-evident, and it's coming because of the actions of this administration and what they've taken with respect to how they're trying to eliminate health care coverage for people so that billionaires can have a tax cut. My God, even billionaires are embarrassed by that proposal. People who don't need the money, as opposed to people who need essential and basic health care services. We're all Americans, and God bless you if you're a billionaire, but whether you're a billionaire or whether you're in poverty, you're an American, and we all have to pull together. And government's responsibility is to do it in a fair manner, but to make sure that a democracy and the way that it functions, and that in a free enterprise, free market system, that a rising tide lifts all boats, as President Kennedy would say, so that we maintain and make sure that everybody gets the opportunity, the equal opportunity to succeed. And where there are failures, we provide the safety net and help for them to, if they fall, to stand back up. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on the call.
If we were not able to get to your question this evening, you can leave a voicemail after the event by calling 860-278-8888. Thank you for joining our Access Live event with Congressman John B. Larson tonight, and we hope you have a happy new year. Good night.